third lecture. Now we will discuss the main points. The Rattrap is a story that underlines a belief that essential goodness in human beings can be aroused through sympathy, understanding and love. Once a man went around selling small rat traps, but he took to begging and thievery to keep his body and soul together, to earn his living. One day, to survive. One day he was struck with the idea the whole world is a big rat trap and it offers riches a bait. People let themselves be tempted to touch that bait, then it closes in on them, bringing an end to everything. One dark evening, the Rattrap peddler sought shelter in an old crofter's roadside cottage. The old man gave him food, tobacco. They enjoyed the card game too. Next morning, the peddler stole away his 30 kroners. The Rattrap peddler escaped into a big confusing forest and got lost. While resting on the ground, he recollected his idea that the whole world is a rat trap and thought his end was near. Hearing a thumping sound, he reached Ramjo's ironworks for a night shelter. The owner, the iron master, came on his nightly rounds and noticed the ragged wretch near the furnace. He took him as an old acquaintance. He invited him to stay with him and his daughter for Christmas, but the stranger declined the offer. But the peddler declined the offer. His daughter Edla Williamson persuaded to go home with her. She requested him to stay for Christmas Eve only. On his way to the manor house, the peddler thought that he had thrown himself into the lion's den. The next day, in broad daylight, the ironmaster realized the stranger was not captain and threatened to call the sheriff, the police. Edla pleaded for him and asked him to stay back. Christmas Eve at Ramjo was an unusual and the stranger slept. She made him understand that if he wanted rest and peace, he would be welcome next Christmas also. This had a miraculous effect on him. Next morning, they went for early church service, leaving behind the guest who was asleep. They learned at church that Rattrap peddler had robbed an old crofter. Edla becomes very upset. They reached home immediately and learned that the peddler had already left, but had not taken anything at all with him. Instead, he had left a small packet for the young girl as a Christmas present. She opened the packet and found a rat trap, 3 wrinkled 10 kroner notes, and also a letter with a request to return the kroners to the crofter. This is the summary of main points. Now I would like to tell you to jot down some important questions for 2 marks. Question number 1. What kind of life did the peddler lead and why? Peddler, P-E-D-D-L-E-R, peddler lead and why? Question number 2. Why was the peddler surprised when he knocked on the door of the cottage? Question number 3. What hospitality did the peddler receive from the crofter? Question number 4. How did the peddler break the confidence reposed in him by the old crofter? Question number 5. Why was the peddler amused at the idea of the world being a rat trap? Question number 7. What do you learn about the crofter's nature from the story, The Rat Trap? Next question. Why did the peddler decline the invitation of the iron master? Next question. Why was Edla happy to see the gift left by the peddler? Next question. What made the peddler finally change his ways? Last question. What is the message conveyed by the story The Rattrap. These are 2 marks question. Now I would like to tell you to write down the long question. How did the peddler betray the confidence reposed in him by the crofter in the Rattrap, and with what consequences? Long question for 6 marks. Question number 2. The peddler believed that the whole world is a rat trap. Full stop. How did he himself get caught in the same? Question number 3. Broad question, long question. Kindness pays, rudeness never. It's a quotation from the book. Kindness pays, rudeness never. Little acts of love and kindness can awaken the basic goodness in man. How are the values of compassion and concern brought out in the story The Rattrap? How are the values of compassion and concern brought out in the story The Rattrap? These 3 are the broad questions and very important questions. Students, mind you, I completed the story, explaining the story and the important discussion of important questions for short questions and broad questions. Thank you.